Good afternoon, and welcome to the City Club of Cleveland. My name is Jan Roller. I am president of the club. We're glad you're all here today to join in today's civic dialogue. As we read in yesterday's Plain Dealer, to tweet or not to tweet is one of the questions facing Jolene Molitoris, our speaker today, who is the director of the Ohio Department of Transportation. Her department is now considering whether Ohio should join other states in using social networking sites like Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook to communicate, especially in emergencies with motorists. But Director Molitoris has bigger projects on her desk, like the Cleveland area's largest transportation infrastructure project, the replacement of the I-90 Innerbelt Bridge and flattening of the Innerbelt Curve. The project's goal is to improve safety, reduce congestion and traffic delays, and modernize interstate travel along I-71, I-77, I-90 through downtown Cleveland. Another major project is her effort, and Governor Ted Strickland's, to obtain up to $400 million in federal stimulus funds for the 3C Quick Start Passenger Rail Plan to connect Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. The plan would have conventional speed rail service running by 2011. The plan was given a boost on Monday when she and the governor met in Chicago at a Midwest high-speed rail summit with governors of 7 other states to establish a Midwest Rail Steering Group to coordinate the region's efforts to secure a share of the $8 billion in stimulus funds made available for passenger rail under the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. Ms. Molitoris is no stranger to tough transportation questions. Her career began with the Celeste administration at the Ohio Rail Transportation Authority, where she achieved the position of executive director. She was then appointed deputy director for rail at ODOT, where she worked with port authorities statewide to create 13 new line railroads, the most in any state following the deregulation of the railroad industry. In 1993, President Bill Clinton named her the head of the Federal Railroad Administration, the first woman to hold that post. During her 8 years in Washington, she led agency-wide changes to make significant improvements in safety and customer service. Because of her achievements, Railway Age magazine named her one of the great 20th century railroaders. In Governor Strickland's appointment of Ms. Molitoris to his cabinet, she became the first woman in Ohio to become director of the Ohio Department of Transportation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jolene Molitoris.
Thank you so much, Jan. It is truly a thrill for me to be here in Cleveland. I grew up in Warren, Ohio, and one of the treats of my childhood was to get on the train and come to Cleveland and enjoy this beautiful city and enjoy the sports teams and the musical offerings. And so for me, Cleveland is a place that's very much like home. Also, this opportunity to be at the, what is it called? The soapbox of America is so exciting, because I know that the people who are here chose to come because this issue of transportation is something that's important to you. So I thank you so very much for inviting me. And I have to say that it's a privilege to be at this podium when I know that our Governor Strickland was here just last week. So I am privileged indeed. I'm going to present a lot of information to get within the time frame so that we will have a time for conversation between and among us, because that's really the most important part of this equation. Proverbs tells us that where there is no vision, the people perish. At this time in our nation's history, Ohio is so fortunate to have visionary leaders like Governor Strickland and President Obama on the issues that matter the most to Ohioans: education and health care, the economy, and transportation. And I know that each of you come here with a personal attitude about transportation. Perhaps you've had some experience working with ODOT. It was wonderful, wasn't it? Perhaps you've sought funding for a project. Perhaps you've been frustrated by detours and orange barrels. Whatever your attitude is now, I hope to share some ideas with you about transportation that will give you a reason to think about transportation in a new way. I believe our time together here today should focus on the future, about what that future should be like and how we will get there. A few words about history, because it does help to know where we've been as you create our vision for the future. History tells us that our nation, our state, this region, and this city prospered and grew because of transportation. For example, without a boat and a vision and quite a bit of courage, I might say, Christopher Columbus would have never found the New World. Without the canals, without the railroads, without two brothers from Dayton who had a vision of powered flight, Ohio would have never grown to be the transportation heart of the Midwest and a centrifugal force for logistics. Without the automobile, without the connection of light rail and rapid transit, by 2007's best large transit system in North America, the Cleveland RTA. Without the vision of city leaders who in 1825 began a maritime operation at the spot where the Cuyahoga River meets the Great Lake Erie, Cleveland would not have grown into a major metropolis. Transportation has always been the driver of growth, of business, of cities, of towns. Transportation has always been the way to create opportunity, economic development, mobility, and a better quality of life for all. As my friend Albert Ratner, who could not be with us today, unfortunately, and who knows a thing or two about economic development and jobs, as he always says, he's in the transportation business. And I say right back to Albert, ODOT's in the development business. If each of us and all of us together do our jobs right, and together we can then create not only the Ohio, but the Cleveland of our dreams. We know other cities are doing it. Bob Milburn, who's head of the Columbus Partnership, a leading business group which is similar to the Cleveland Partnership, led a delegation of Ohio business leaders to Raleigh, Austin, Minneapolis, Pittsburgh, and Indianapolis to learn about their economic development efforts. And guess what they all said? As though it had been orchestrated, and maybe in a way it has been. The common answer to the most important thing they were doing was investing in transportation. Some cited airport development, which is a key asset for every city, roads and bridges, particularly for cities wanting to create a transportation and distribution hub, transit for cities facing increased congestion, and rail passenger service of the sort we are seeking for Ohio. That's why our president, our governor, many members of the congressional delegation, and our General Assembly are looking to transportation investment as a key part of the answer to the severe economic distress that we're enduring. By boldly reinventing our transportation system now, we can position Northeast Ohio to drive growth for its future.